Yeah, hey Greg, thanks for taking my call. Can I show you a cool idea I have for removing internal weld seams from square tubing? You know what I mean, right? The little internal weld seam in a square tube like this that prevents a smaller size tube from slipping inside it. I invented a drilled wood block like this that holds a carbide burr that spins in a couple of router bit bearings when hooked up to an extension like this and run with a drill. Well, I got to wondering, could you machine one for me on that fancy milling machine of yours to use it for something other than holding down the floor in your shop?
That sounds really interesting, Matt. I've always grooved the outside of the inside piece of tube to make that happen. It's fairly time consuming. Or I've taken a piece of high-speed steel and just tried to chisel out the weld seam, and that never really works very well. It leaves a lot of burrs and stuff. That sounds like it'll really work well. Why don't I try and model something up in Fusion 360 here real fast? Hey Matt!
What? What time is it? What? Oh.
I've designed this as a two-piece tool, so the main body will be aluminum, and that'll allow you to put a jacket around it made of wood or UHMW or some other type of material that'll allow it to shrink and grow as you use different sizes of tubing. I think we can hold the jacket on with just a few screws, and you can actually use the body of the tool as a drill guide to put the holes for the screws in the jacket. What do you think?
I love your idea of using jackets so that this tool can be adapted to different size tubes. That's pretty clever.
Here are our little victims. I always make extra when I'm doing prototypes because pretty good chance you're going to mess something up, and it's much easier if you just cut it all at once. So I'll use these in another project if I don't use them today. These gloves are about done, aren't they? That one, and that one, that one. Okay, now that we've got that, we can set our Z to 0. Okay, so we are 90125. We can do math plus dot 90125. So 0 is essentially the bottom of our piece right now. So I will take off material until this reads 75, 750, 7500. So here's where we're at right now. It's 751.5 basically. And we're 751.5, so that's good. We're gonna take it down on the Z to exactly 750. Yeah, we're half a thousandths past, but that's all right. We're good. One of the important things for me in this environment is to keep one of the corners as my XYZ 0, and as the part rotates around and we go to opposite faces, I use the same corner even though it's upside down, so it'll go from lower left to lower right and upper right depending on which way the material flips. My first machining operation that we do on this face here is going to leave a little dot in that corner, and that dot is my reference, so as I move the part around, making sure that it stays in the orientation that I want it to be in. So we've got our drill set and measured, our 832 tap here as well. So the drills and taps I never keep in my tool changer because they change so often project to project. But we are ready. There's my list of tools right there just to make sure. You can always go in the offsets, make sure they all look good. They don't have any zeros over here. So we're gonna go back to the main screen, cycle start. Hold on to your hats. This is always scary. First time you do this. Always got my finger right there on the button. So we should be taking off 5/1000ths, just to skim, just to make it pretty. Now it'll switch over to our spot drill and engraving tool. So it should spot 2 holes. One, 2, and then it'll make a spot in the lower left, which is my XY0 that I wanted for reference. So that little dot will stay there in perpetuity. Now we're going to switch over to a drill, which I have to put in by hand. Sometimes the drilling routines that Tormach prescribes are, yeah, it tells me right there, put that in. They're a little heavy, shall we say. So if we hear it load up at all, we're going to hit escape. Sounded good? Good. You can see there it's telling me to insert the tap. 832 should tap both of those holes that we just drilled. Taps are very precarious. Beautiful. Large chamfering tool here. Make sure our coolant and air blast are on. So it should just kind of run down the length here. Just put a little bevel on there, just to make things nice. And then it'll chamfer the insides of the 2 holes that we drilled. This is where I always have to remind myself to be very careful about orientation, and that's why I put the little dot in the corner there. We need to rotate this 180 degrees in the machine here. Just clearing out all the chips. Parallel set here. This rotates just like that. Make sure it's set down on the parallels just right. Just so everybody can follow along, I went ahead and zeroed my X, Y, and Z up in this upper left corner. And when I load the second file here, you'll see that I leave myself notes that it's supposed to be the upper left corner is where my XY0 is. If I look at the file, I can see that that's where my XY0 is, and that's where I've got it set. Cycle start. We don't want the brake on. There we go, cycle start. And again, hand on the button. First operation, oops. Facing operation. Should take off 5 thou, just kind of pretty it up. Nice. Next operation will be just a quick pocket on the end of this thing, not a very deep pocket. Should come in from our right side here. 1/16 of an inch deep. That was it. Next operation will be the chamfers so that it matches the other side. Should grab our 1/4 inch tool here. Yep. Nicely done. Now it's going to do the insides of our holes. Up 3 is the right side, so we can see it here. Our XY is in the lower left, and looking at our offsets, I know that I need a 1/4 inch drill as part of this operation. So I've got the 1/4 inch drill loaded up in the chuck here. Then I know that this is my right side. Again, from op 1, that little dot, that's my right side. So I know I want to rotate it just like that. Hold on to your pantalones. Yes. I made the part 1 inch and 5/1000. So it should be taken off 2.5 thou here. Just a quick little trim. We'll be spot drilling for the 1/4 inch hole. There we go. There we go. 1/4 inch drill. Ask and you shall receive. Give it a little bit of lubricity here. Again, we'll be listening. If that drill loads up at all, we'll hit the escape button. We're just going to back that up a little bit. I'm not sure why it's not pecking there, but we can run that piece again. There we go. Yeah, I obviously didn't have peck drilling set, and that's what happens when you don't. Now we're going to switch over to our 1/4 inch end mill. And this is going to hog out the space for our bearing. Now we should go back to our chamfering tool to put all the edge chamfers on this face. Again, looking back at our dot, we're going to do this left side. So that dot is our XY 0 point. We're going to rotate it like that because we can see the XYZ 0 is in the upper left. So that dot goes in the upper left as we're looking at this, that orientation. Once again, hold on to your shorts. Now we're going to run a similar boring operation to the last side. It won't be nearly as deep on this side, so it should be our 1/4 inch. And then I think our final operation of this entire part is going to be our chamfers here. All right, looks like we should have a finished part.
So here's the first version. I think we need to add a couple holes in the side in case you have a jacket that needs to be offset because the seam in the tubing is not centered. I got the actual burr in the mail today, and measuring a few things, I think we can actually spread the bearings out a little bit more and give the tool more stability. And then we can actually make the tool a little bit longer, and when the jacket's on inside the tube, that'll make the whole thing more stable as well.
Let's talk again when you got a version 2.0 made up.
We'll see you.
I'll talk to you later.
So, we are ready again with Op 1. Away we go. I cut up 3 blocks for what I'm calling the jacket, and each one of these is slightly different in that this is for 1¼ inch tubing that has a centered seam. This is for 1 1/8" tubing, which I happen to have here in my hot little hands. And you can see the seam is off center. So I've cut this so that the tool will be centered on the seam. Now you might be asking yourself, how in the world am I going to hold on to that guy? So the way this works is this tool goes in like that. So this is where the seam would go if you're pulling the tool through. You wouldn't need it if you're pushing through. So we can take our drill and drill 2 holes through there that'll go all the way through the top, and then we use our fasteners and screw it in that way. But from the side, I also drilled and tapped holes. So what I can do is mark out on here, get my pencil, mark out on here where this goes. And this is for just drilling an access hole. So that access hole will give me access to this, and I'll put my drill bit in here and drill through this other side. I did cut these slots with a dado stack on these 2. And then this one was pretty delicate. I don't even know if this one's gonna work. This is probably the limitations of the tool. I think we found it, because I don't even think I have enough room to counterbore here for the fasteners. We'll find out. But I did this just on a normal 1/8 inch blade here with a flat bottom to it. And you can see it was a bear to keep control of this piece of lumber as it was going through the blade. So I would not recommend going that small. A little bit too scary. I'm going to drill a little bit oversized right here, being very careful. There we go. Now, if I put this piece in, get it where I want it to be, we can see the hole lines up there. I'll go ahead and drill these 2 while I'm here. There we go. We've got a bolt going through there, a little hole and countersink. And then on top, we drilled 2 holes through, bored and countersunk. Now it's nice and tight in there. Then we take our piece of tubing with the offset seam, you can see. And this guy will fit down in there very nicely. So there's the seam right there. I'm gonna go ahead and put that guy in there. And then we're gonna attach our drill back here. I think you can see that. Came out pretty nice. definitely below the surface, which is exactly what we wanted. The block that's in there maybe needs a little bit of a shim on the front side. I just had to tip the drill up a little bit, and that got the burr engaged.
So Matt and I started this project just thinking it would go no further than the two of us. He wanted a tool made out of metal that he could use over the long period of time, and I just thought it would be a fun project to be involved in as I'm learning to machine and getting used to the Tormach and, you know, doing new projects, developing ideas. That's what's really interesting to me. And as the project moved on, it dawned on both of us that if we have the issue of removing this internal weld seam, there's probably other people out there who've run into the same exact thing. So we thought, why don't we see if anybody would want to buy these things? And rather than making a batch of like 100 of them and having them sit around our shop for the next 10 years and giving them away as Christmas presents and stuff, we're going to do a pre-order and gauge the interest. So that way, if we only need to make 5 or 10 of them, we can do that. If we need to make 100 or 200 of them, we can do that too. So we're starting the pre-order today on my website, gregsgaragekc.com, and the link is below in the description. And there's 2 different versions of the pre-order. One is for the tool itself and the bearings inside of it. You'll have to provide your own burr, your own extension, and your own hardware to put the jacket onto the tool. In both versions, you'll have to make your own jacket, which we describe in our videos how to do that. And then I have a deluxe kit that will come with the burr, with the extension, and with the hardware as well. So if you're interested in doing that, it's on my website, gregsgaragekc.com. If not, enjoy the video. I also want to thank Matt for reaching out to me. This has been an incredibly fun project to work on, and Matt is such a wonderful carpentry professional. I can't say enough about his skill level and his talent, and it's so much fun working with somebody who has his kind of experience and insight. If you haven't checked out Matt's channel, Next Level Carpentry, and you want to get better at carpentry skills and understand what it takes in the real production world to make carpentry your living, Matt's channel is probably the best carpentry channel on YouTube. He does long format videos that cover in great detail how to be the type of carpenter that people want to hire for their high-end projects. You can check out Matt's companion video by clicking on the link here in the upper right corner. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. I hope you had as much fun watching this as we did making these things. Take care.
Feel free to click or tap on the images to check out some of my past builds. If you like my videos, click on the Greg's Garage logo and all my future videos will show up in your YouTube feed.